All right, so I've got I've got your artwork right here.
Awesome.
You want to start with Cowboy Bebop?
Yeah, that's my latest work. So this one had to be done actually like super duper quick. Like I had to turn it in last weekend, and pretty much I had about 2 weeks to do it. 1 week for the inks, and then turn in the colors by the next week. Um, and so I sent in these four thumbnails to them, and they ended up picking C.
So how long did you have to do these thumbnails, and what was the prompt that you were given?
Um, it was basically we just had to it had to look like the actors. Like you can't do anything related to the anime, basically. Like you had to they give you all the like imagery from the show, and you had to only use that. Like you can't do anything colors, nothing like has to all the outfits have to look like from the live action.
Okay,
That was like the overall like strict rule. Besides that, you could just do whatever you really wanted for the covers. There was like a direction. Um, and I think that was about it. Yeah.
and then what are we looking at right here? What is this?
So since they picked C, I had to lay down the perspective because they're like in the ship basically, and I had to obviously like construct the background from the images that they give me because there weren't any that had like this perspective basically. Um, so I had to like use the reference that they gave me and make the rest of the ship basically from the pictures, um, and where they would be standing and stuff like that. And so
Great.
this is the hull, I guess, like the top of the ship behind them. It'll make more sense once you, yeah. Now the perspective in the last one, it's a little bit different from what the final turned out, but it was pretty much how I made the
So
how
once
I constructed it.
once they chose the thumbnail, and then you blocked out the perspective, and then you did this drawing right here, did you send them this drawing, or did they just have go ahead, go to final?
No, this was my sketch for myself, like to block everything in, and then the next one I think should be like the inks. Yeah, I sent this for the approval. Um, and then well, I sent like another version basically, and they came back. They were like, you got to fix, try to get Spike's face to look a little bit more like the actor. And then this was the final one.
Awesome.
Yeah, and then that was it. Like after that, they just said go, and I just finished it. That was it.
Cool.
Turned it in the next couple days. It pretty much like the longest phase for me because it's like multiple parts basically. It's like more or less like 8-12 hours is from the thumbnails to the final inks. And then each of these, yeah, from thumbnails to final inks takes let's say like 12 hours. And then at most. And then doing the tones, the grayscale, it's like 4 hours, and then colors is another 4 hours. Once you do tones, like colors is just like you're you're just flying. So it's not like I do everything in Clip Studio Paint. I didn't for this one. I didn't do any original traditional work.
Very neat. So class, do you guys have any questions about this process work so far? Nope.
All right, let me
All
open the
right.
chat.
So I'm gonna go to another folder in the drive. Let's go to gun 4.
This one I did really early after graduating, maybe like a year or two. Um, I got into communication with a local comic book shop. Basically, they found me at a convention I was at, a local convention, Florida SuperCon. And so like I started hanging out with them, and they're like a indie publisher basically, and they got me to do 2 issues of the gun. And for the gun 4, they said, "You want to do a cover?" And I was like, "Yeah, cool." They're like, "Okay, just do whatever." And I was like, "You sure you want to do whatever?" And so like this is the direction I went in, because the main character is like a young girl who's like um just basically revenge kills the entire like mafia kind of thing.
Very cool. So I'm looking at this light color palette, medium color palette, dark color palette. What is this for? Is this just for the color scheme, or is this?
Yeah, because sometimes when I work with color, um, I'll take the palette from something else, like a show or screenshot or another artwork, and I'll put that into like a generator, and it'll shoot back the color palette for me, so that I can kind of not think too much about what I'm trying, what exact tone or anything I'm trying to use. I can
Yeah.
just like throw these out and adjust it later if I need to. But this way, I'm putting down the colors and the tones that I need to for the most part, without having to think too much in the process.
Very cool. So how important is perspective in something like this? And you said you did a few issues of this series.
Of Gun, yeah, I've done a few issues of the Gun. They were about like 26 pages each, I think. And then
Okay.
recently I did the Agnes Mo graphic novel, which is like another 100 pages. Perspective is like, it's like a cardinal law. Like in comics, you have to know how to draw perspective, humans, and I don't know what the third one would be. Maybe like bicycles or something. um, yeah, you can't function without perspective and good anatomy. Like it's just like a
So is that something that you focused on as a student, or is that just something that you saw as important as a professional?
both. I as a student, I knew I wanted to do comics, so I all my teachers and stuff, you know, especially Barker, he told me, he's like, you gotta practice this. This is something like you can't like you can't fake this because it just looks bad. So it's something I force myself to do, even though it's not fun at all. But eventually you get to the point where you can just lay down the grid, even if it's just like a light one. You you can make do with it, and you don't have to like measure out everything. Like eventually you'll get to the point where you can see it in your mind's eye.
Awesome. So class, do you have any questions about yes? So could you say that a little bit louder? I can't hear you from across the room. Come on over here and ask him yourself. I'm sorry.
It's cool.
Hello.
Hey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Would you say that Samurai Champloo is inspirational to you in any of your work? As I saw that you worked on Cowboy Bebop, and both shows had the same director. Have you seen that work specifically? Because the way that you the way that you kind of comped the realistic motorcycle with a very simplistic background and mannequins feels very same to the intro of Samurai Champloo.
Actually, I don't remember too much about the show. I saw it to completion. It is a very Like I love that studio and the animators and stuff. But for this particular piece, it didn't influence. No. Yeah.
Any other questions, guys? Nope. All right. So let's go on to some of these others.
Yeah.
Like to do the Mighty Morphin number 4. So I'm looking at the thumbnails first. And was this
Yeah.
process very similar?
Yeah, more or less. This one actually had a lot more thumbnails. This was just like one of the pages that had the like final in it. For this one, I did like 20, 25 different thumbnails because it was supposed to be the first time that you get to see who the new Green Ranger actually is. So it was like really cool. I was like, this is fucking awesome. So in this one, they almost went with, I think it was D, like where he's like falling down kind of thing onto them.
Yeah.
But they ended up going with B for whatever reason.
So is that normal for a client to ask you to do 20, 25 thumbnails?
No. I do them fast and I have the time, so I just knock them out.
Awesome.
Yeah. That's just what I like to give them the variety, basically. And
So-
sometimes they'll tell you like an idea, basically, or they'll send you like an image. They're like, we want to do something like this cover of Death Note. And so like I'll do a thumbnail of that, but I'll also do like a bunch of other ones just because I'm like, it's kind of lame. So yeah, I'll give them the different ideas as well. And that's kind of what happened with this one.
So with this one right here, did you end up coloring this, or is this like
No,
another?
this was actually shoot, I forget his name now. Is it David Chavez, I think, or Carlos Chavez? I have the credit up on my Instagram. But yeah, he colored that. This was a team.
Awesome.
He does right now. I think he's doing like Ninja Turtles and Batman and stuff like that. Yeah.
Very cool. So you did this line work with just this little bit of shadow.
Yeah, and I delivered it to him with the shadow like on a separate layer so that he's not like having a headache with that. Yeah.
Very cool. Any questions about this one, class?
This one too, like a little fun fact, they had me switch the Blue Ranger with the Red Ranger. Because in the story or whatever, the Blue Ranger already knew who it was. So they're like, he shouldn't be thinking about who it should be. So they had me switch.
Nice.
Yeah.
There's some nice looking colors right there for sure.
Yeah, he's great. He does a lot of Chiaroscuro kind of stuff. You should check him out.
So I want to look at the Hulk show. What is this for?
This was Hulk and the Agents of Smash. It was a Disney XD show back, I think it came out in 2014, 2013, late 2013, 2014. It should be on Disney Plus by now.
Okay.
Yeah, it is. This was episode 3, I think it was, the Hulkbusters episode. And I included these because they show a lot of how we had to like lay down the grid and stuff for the animators basically. Because this like we did the storyboards in house and then they shoot them off to, I think this one was done in Korea if I'm not mistaken, and then they get done in that studio or whatever. And these were kind of interesting too because we had to for a lot of it was like an office type of show where they like cut to them sitting talking to the camera kind of thing, and it was kind of tricky because we had to like explain the joke but in the art itself. It was interesting because it couldn't be lost in translation, basically. So we had to make sure it was very clear what was happening. And so here, part of this scene, this is one that I did myself. Part of this scene didn't make it because they had to cut it for time.
Okay.
But yeah, but they smash them into the console. And then they're basically like watching the replay, and it's like this robot that invades.
And so like something like this drawing that's on the screen, how much time would you have to do something like this? And what would the art direction be consisting of?
Okay, so they basically give you like all the headshots and the bodies, like what the final animation would look like that kind of, and that's coming from like an actual like Marvel artist or whatever. And then you just kind of you really don't have any time. You have like 10, 15 minutes maybe, depending on how complicated some of these are.
Yeah.
And for some of them, like I might have included it, I'm not sure. It'll have, the show had CG backgrounds. So they'd give you the CG backgrounds, and we had a guy that would just like plug them in, and we would draw on top of them.
Nice.
Yeah, like all the cars, all the like buildings and cities and stuff like that were all like plugged in. So we had a guy that was like the CG guy, and he would like do that for us kind of thing, and we just like draw all the characters on top.
That's cool.
Yeah.
All right, so now something is killing the children, 16.
Yeah. This is the first issue of volume 2, I think. Technically, it's like they had the first season ended, and then this is like the start of the second season. I did about like 8 for these, and then the client wanted to, for this one, this is a variant cover for like a store, basically, like an online seller. And for this one, they liked the ideas of B and D so much that they asked me for 2 instead of just the 1.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. And so these are I take them, and then sometimes I'll do like tones and color really early so that I can like get the idea out. And I can also use it as a reference for the colorist. It's like, this is what I was thinking of doing if I can't color it myself.
Did you color this one yourself, or did you hand it off?
Yeah, I colored that one myself.
Okay.
Yeah. And then so that's my colors. That's my final colors that I just did for fun, because I went and did the tones anyway. So I was just like, let me just throw the colors on it. And then Daniel did the next, should be the final. Yeah.
Nice. Very cool. So this is the second cover.
Right.
And like, something like this, how much of a print run would it be? Would it be a big print run, small print run?
These, like when it's I forget what they call them now. But it's when it's like a variant cover for a seller, usually they do like 1,000. That's like the more or less the average number. And then you get your comps. Well, at least when it's Boom Studios, you always get your comps.
And so did you do these colors, or is this another artist?
I did a draft. That was the same guy, Daniel. I did a draft of the colors, and he basically just did his thing. Yeah, there. Yeah. Because I realized, like, I was like, let me I had to do the blood myself because I had to make sure it was put where I needed it to be.
Yeah.
And that was about it as far as colors for me.
All right. So I'm going to look at the
Yeah.
Blondie strips.
This was my first professional, not counting Hulk. This was my first professional work that I did outside of school, and it was for the King's Features Blondie comic. Um, these were pretty much you do them in like 4 to 6 hours. They give you the script with like little doodles. Sometimes the artist, the writer, sorry, will like give you a little doodle sketch if they're if they're good enough. If not, the head artist sends you like the like good looking version for you to like figure out where to put the characters and stuff. And then they give you like a big ass PDF of like all the characters ever, all the poses, all the hand gestures, like everything. And you're kind of just like plugging it in and putting them all together.
So are you literally cutting and pasting? Or are you actually drawing it?
They asked you to draw it, yeah.
Okay.
I mean, I had that question too. Yeah, I was like, you can just, yeah.
So are these drawn digitally or are these drawn traditionally?
It was all digital, yeah. Even the master artist, he does everything digitally. I don't think these are done traditionally anymore.
Awesome. So I want to ask a few questions about your career and how it's going and how you got your start and like what happened immediately after graduation, and even like maybe bumps in the road or things that you want students to potentially look out for.
Okay, let's see. So after graduating, I went back home basically because I didn't graduate with a job, which is like the dream. But it can be difficult. Like it's hard to find stuff. Um, Especially okay. So in my case, I went into school wanting to be a comic book artist. Like that's what I want to do. I could do anything else for money, but my end goal was to be a comic book artist. Um, and my path to that was doing a lot of things. um, First, coming out of school, I had some unfortunate events like deaths in the family and things like that. So I kind of had to sacrifice my time and a little bit of money and stuff like that to just make sure I was eating every day, get through stuff. I did stuff like the Blondie, the Hulk. I did any miscellaneous freelance I could do. There's a lot of great resources for jobs and stuff like that, especially the school website. I forget College Central. It's actually a great resource that you can use besides LinkedIn, and um, so I went through a lot of that. I worked for app companies doing like graphic design, designing art for apps, like kind of like dress up apps where like you have like your emoji and like you change the hair and the skin color and all that stuff. Like I've done that. That was like the most. I hated it so hard. And then I've done like whole battle apps where like you're fighting gods and like you're like a Spartan and you're just fighting gods and monsters. Like the level up gotcha kind of thing. I've done that sort of stuff. I've done just like wallpapers, anything. Eventually, I got kind of tired of that, and I sought out like a desk job where I can just make the money I needed to make and go home and just draw comics. because I had a story to tell and I wanted to do that. And so I did that for a while. I landed the office job, and eventually I would go to cons and stuff, show my stuff around. I put my stuff on the internet, always constantly. Finding a job is like a full-time job. Like it doesn't stop after you leave school. There are people that go into animation, stuff like that, because that's what they like to do. And I just kept pushing. I was like, I just want to draw comics. That's all I wanted to do. So I kept going to conventions, meeting people, talking to people, going to comic book stores, because you'd be surprised the amount of like foot traffic that goes through them in terms of like creators and people like that. And just talking to the clerks, you'll be like, oh, so and so was here the other day, and then oh, cool. Hey, can I give you my card next time they're around? Just let them know, or like you'll come in contact with them, or you can go ahead and find them later online and be like, hey, I was at this store and they said you go by. And that's kind of, for comics at least, it's you need that connection to get in, and that's how it worked out for me. And I was always, from people in the industry, I was told that you need to work in comics, you have to be two of three things. It's you're a nice person, you're an amazing artist, like crazy good, or you're really fast. Now, I guess I'll leave you to guess which of those three I fall into, but yeah, I think I have to agree with it. And then besides that, it's just find and communicate. And
So you're,
don't be afraid to submit your portfolio. Like I've had more rejections than like I can even count.
what was it like getting rejected, and what was it like getting positive feedback and getting your first job?
Um, hmm. You mean first job in terms of like comics?
Yes.
Okay. Well, rejection is like I guess like it's just like, all right, I just gotta work harder. Like I'm not what they were looking for, so I'll just go elsewhere. I'll apply again in like 3 months when I've got more stuff to show. Um, and uh, my my first job was kind of lucky. I did a local like free comic book day kind of thing where I was like drawing sketches and stuff, and I drew a sketch for the shop owner, and he ended up selling his shop, and went off to be like an online retailer, and so he had the connection to all these companies, all like Boom and Image and all the indies and DC and stuff. And so he basically contacted me. Like he kept one of my sketches and he contacted me. He was like, "Hey, I want to represent you to create some covers and stuff for me, and then I'll help you get into the industry." And that was basically how I got it. Yeah,
And
that was
so
my start.
so he kept your sketch, but like how long did he keep your sketch? Was it like a month later, 6 months later, a year later?
No, I'd say it was like maybe a year, 6 months, yeah,
So it was totally
more or less.
unexpected.
Yeah. This wasn't like him keeping my sketch. I had no idea that he would come back later to contact me and say like, "Hey, I want to represent. Let's get you to do some covers." And then, yeah, and from there it just went on. And I kept, even with that, I kept constantly putting myself out there on websites, on any search engine for talent or anything that you can put yourself on. You want to be there. I'm a Cuban, American. I was born here, but my whole heritage is Cuban, and so it's an advantage for me in that I'm Hispanic. Basically, I live in Miami. I can talk Spanish, and so people that look for that reached out to me for the Agnes Mo, and that's how that worked out.
Very cool. So you're currently working on or just finishing a 100-page graphic novel?
Yeah, that deed is done. Yeah,
Oh, it's done?
yeah, my side of it at least. Yeah,
Oh, awesome. So when does that come out?
November. It's
So-
slated to come out this year, November this year.
That's really soon.
Yeah, that project. whew. That was a really fast one.
How did you get that project, and what is it like working on 100 sequential pages? Like, how long did you have to go from start to finish?
I got the project. I was contacted by one of the editors through Cartoonist of Color, I think is the website. And from there, I referred her to my agent, and they worked out all the business and stuff. And so originally, I was gonna do half, but then the other artist, his schedule couldn't do that. So we made it so that I would do like 100 pages of like, which was like the normal story, and then he was doing like these dream sequences that happen. So he got like a 20 pages, so it's like total 120 or whatever. So, and so then I was also at a full-time job then, and their schedule we're gonna start in like May, around there, and be done in like 3 months. So it was going like 2 pages a day, basically, is what they were asking me. And I was like, yeah, I can do that. So I asked my job to go part-time. So I would leave by like 1 p.m., get home. I go to the gym for like an hour, which I would always advise. Like, it's our job, we're sitting down all day. You don't want to be doing that. You want to at least go somewhere, get a refresh, and then get back to work. And then I'd get home, eat something quick, and then just bust out 2 pages.
Nice.
And that was it. Yeah, I just did like the inks, like straight to inks. I didn't do tones or anything. Like colors and all that stuff was handled by the other teammates. And that was it. I worked with Carla Pacheco. She's the writer. She was awesome. she like at the start, she like asked me, is like, how do you want the script? And she gave me like a bunch of questions about like what I like to do, what I like to draw. And she sent me the script like very broken down, like into panels and stuff. And I was like, oh, perfect. Like this, I don't have to think too much about the layout or what the flow is gonna be. And that was it. I just knocked it out. Yeah.
Awesome. So I'm going to open up to the class for questions. Yes.
How easy was the transition from like the Ringling Workload to the professional?
So the question is, how easy is the transition from like the Ringling Workload to Professional Workload?
I mean, easy. I never had a problem. It's really about your time management, I think. As long as you know to put off your vices to get the work done. I really didn't have a problem. Yeah.
Any other questions, class? Nope. I think that's it. Thank you so much.
All right, you're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Bye, have a good one.
All
Thank
right.
you.
See you later. Thank you.